G'day everyone. A lot of people have asked me about what I do to prepare my traps before a trapping operation. So I'll just go through some of the things I do. I'm out here in the backyard with the old caravan, the old Hilux, and away from things, so I can sort of get the boiler going here. I've got nothing flash. This is just an old keg here, donated to me, a couple of old truck rims. I use that with a bit of hardwood timber. But what I do for a start, I get some of the, hang on a second, I've got an overflow here, a burn. Right, that's what I'm doing there, is just rendering down some horse's hoof. Horse's hoof, I mean, not a horse's hoof. That's a horse's trimming. As one of the lures I use when I'm out there trapping. Just dogs love it. Right, so what I do for a start, I get some water boiling and I cut down some black wattle trees that we've got here, and we've got tons of them. The black wattle are like a weed here in this area, but the black wattle is very high in tannins in the bark and in the leaves and the new shoots. So what I usually do is just cut down a branch, take off all the leaves and the new shoots, the new tips of the branches. I get them in here, render them down for probably an hour in the boil, and what I end up with is a really strong tea mix, and I use that as the tannin that I boil my traps in. So when I say boil the traps, I like to just simmer them. I don't boil them like crazy because I don't want to take any temper out of any springs. So we just boil them. Before I do that, I hit them with the gurney, hit them with the water blaster, try and blast as much of the dirt and anything off them as we can. That keeps your water in your boiler cleaner, so that you can do more traps in your tannin mix. What we then do, after I've got them all through that process, I usually just have ordinary candle wax, just normal wax. It's good to get some from some of the Western trapping, professional trapping supplies. There's a lot of suppliers around that have got really good trap wax. That's good if you're near them. I've run out at the moment, so I'll just grab some just ordinary candle wax. The traps will already be tanned. They'll be in the same tannin fluid. I'll put that wax in there, draw the traps out through them so they get a fine layer of really hot wax on them, and then just let them dry. Now these traps have been on the ground. I've just left them on the ground since the last operation under a tarp. They've got a little light touch of rust on them, which I don't like, but anyway, that's just what's happened. We've had so much humid weather. But I like to put them on the ground and let them just earth down into the ground to sort of like get a negative sort of atmosphere around them, you could say. Then we do this to them, and I feel that they're about as good as we need them to be. So nothing flash. This is just very basic procedures. Yep. Here is the wealth of this country, heading overseas. Chancy, Brendan, Dashy, Brendan. Good boys. Robbie. Pretty hot up here and pretty humid, so we've put the trailer in where there's a little bit of breeze comes through, and put a tarp over the top, plenty of water. And the two dogs that I'll leave there every day will be able to camp in there safely. Good morning all. First morning of this trap line. We had about, best part of 20 mils of rain last night. Got back here and went and helped the landowner kill a beast for meat out in the paddock. He had to go out about 15 k's and knock this beast over. And we got back in pretty late last night, but we're just getting started here now. Getting the guns sorted out, drying out some of the equipment that got wet last night. But get my old rifle. Not as easy here as it is in other countries. We've got to have our rifles stored away, locked up, ammunition locked away. And yeah, you lock them in here. If you don't check them, especially in this humidity, you can get rust on your barrels. So yeah, just one of those things. So this morning I'm saddling up with the Hauer 223. Okay, that's in there. 4 in the stack. And what I'm running today, is just Remington. Okay, 223s, 55 grain. They work well. I've always been a fan of the Remingtons. Straight off the shelf. And I've got my old Bruno in its gun boot. Yeah, some basic stuff, binoculars, two-way radio, an EPIRB, I'll have water and basic food, recharger over here. In the back I've got a basic kit with some chains, a tyre repair kit and an air compressor, a little saw, some wire strainers, and I've got all my trapping gear in here with the lures I use and sieve and cloth. Chain here or a strop here to help me get out of a bog. We've got the traps, a wallaby jack, a shovel. I'll put in the water bottle and we'll be right to roll as soon as this get the fog off the windscreen. Here's one of those good ideas that went wrong. We just call it night cactus, coral cactus, you know, snake cactus. There's a lot of different names for this thing. But yeah, this is just bloody terrible stuff that invades everywhere. But the thing about it, the flowers come out at night and you go around like spotlighting and all these beautiful flowers everywhere, you know? And you see them in the morning and then they just wilt and die off. The fruit can be eaten. But yeah, just terrible prickly things go right through your boot, stake your legs, hurt your dogs, and it's really invasive. This is a terrible thing. But a lot of people got it because it looked good and put it in their gardens and spread it around, and now it's getting everywhere. It's a big problem. Morning, kids. How are you? Brandon's being a moron. Don't you, Brandon? Chasing mud. Well, it's an interesting morning this morning because they had a really good storm come through here, more than what we sort of felt, because it's just a lot wetter out here than in at the main homestead. And yes, we'll just cruise around and see if I can see any sign, any fresh tracks, just see where these animals are working. Coming into a spot here where we caught a couple of dogs last time. It's going to be interesting to see what tracks are in here. Sit, dogs, sit. Sit, skunk, sit. Sit. I don't want you messing things up with your big hoofs. Sit. Sit. Sit, Brandon, sit. Do's your told for once. Sit. Sit. If anything's come through here since the rain, we'll see it. What I'm going to have trouble with this time, as always up in these sort of mining areas, is that there's a lot of really well-meaning guys and great guys that go out on weekends and yeah, like to do a bit of trapping. And one bloke here I heard about, he puts his traps in and goes away and does a shift and comes back like 7 days later and checks the traps. Now, I'll never do that. I'll never do that because you could have a dog caught in there first night and it's going to die in that trap by the time you get back. It's just should not be done. That should be totally, I'm not saying authorities should step in. I think other people need to just tap this guy on the forehead and say, listen, stop being such a fool. this isn't the way it's done. We are not like that. Yeah, but one of the worst things it does is if a trap is exposed for any reason, if a bird or another animal's come there and exposed that trap, it's sitting out there in full view for all the other dogs to learn about. They come there and they look and say, oh yeah, this is a trap. It doesn't do you any good. It makes dogs trap shy, and then when you do come in to try and catch them like this, we've got a lot harder animal to work with, and it just actually compounds the problem instead of fixing the problem. We've got other guys that come and do a great job. They put their traps out, they check them every day. If they're going back to work, they pull their traps, and yeah, that's good. But it's there's no easy dogs around here. This is all hard going. There's a nice dam over here. We've come at it with our windright. So it's probably worth just coming up here and having a bit of a look, having a bit of a sit for a while the paddocks dry out, because these roads are tough to drive on now because they're just so slippery. What are you marking for? A couple of bulls fighting up here, so it's going to be interesting. Swans. Yeah, we really have to adjust our techniques now. It's good for me to just get out here and have a think about it, look at the country, get a feel for it, smell it, get it in your nostrils. What have we got here? You know, most of the calves are on the ground and they're big enough to look after themselves. So there's not going to be as much easy sort of pickings for the dogs. There's plenty of bird life. There's a lot of stuff happening with little chicks and eggs and all that sort of stuff there. So maybe they'll be hunting the sides of the water holes and that here a little bit more. Yeah, it's going to be interesting just to see what the dogs are doing, and we'll put it all together and then work out a plan. I'm in no rush to put traps in the wrong place, so I haven't even set a trap so far this morning. I'm just looking. It is hard too, because a lot of the places I'd put them, it's like in the mud. So, you know, you don't want to set into mud because you'll always look like the trap is there. I want to have ground that will go back to being, you know, the way it was before I started work on it. You don't want something that's just going to signpost that there's a trap put in there while it was wet. No, let's do this right. It's interesting for me to also watch my dogs and see what sort of tracks they're leaving, because like they're going across that ground. Skunk just stood there, hardly a track. So just because the ground's wet doesn't mean that the dogs are going to leave tracks. Brandon has walked right along there, nothing. You wouldn't even know that he's been there. Look at that. He walked right there. You can see one little tiny touch there, but really very hard to tell. Skunk's showing a lot of attention on this tree. Look at him. And why not? Big bottle tree here. But he walked right around that. Look at that, those dogs have walked right around there, and you're hard pressed to see a track at all. Brandon's sniffing as well. So yeah, this is a good marking tree. I do see a bit of mud there though. That mud on the tree, that's pig. So that might be what they're smelling as well. Right, oh, what are you looking at? This might sound a bit horrible, but these are the things you got to do as a trapper. Okay, that little calf just came through here, and I was watching as it walked through, and it dropped a little turtle. Now that little turtle, very smelly, blowflies already on it. And now this is just some of the first sort of like gut workings of that little calf. It's only a day old probably. And that sort of stuff there, dogs will come and have a look at that. They love that stuff. So let's put it in a container carefully and we'll use that somewhere else. What I've found on all the other properties that I've been on lately is that the dogs have been around where the cattle are. Here, right here, we've got calves, cows everywhere, and this is the hunting ground for the dogs. This is what I wanted to see. Look at this. Fresh tracks of at least, I'd say 3 dogs, maybe 4. Excellent. We've got a pack working here, and let's start setting up for these. This is good. Seems to be a big dog in amongst this and some smaller ones, some pups. So I'll try a combination here. I'll put one trap in with the calf poo, and I'll try another one with something like bitch's urine. That just a couple of different scents, and probably a third one here. I'll put at least 3 traps here because I know I've got at least 3 dogs, and always find that if you can get one dog out of a pack, if you set your traps straight away, if you're checking them straight away, the chances are you'll get the other ones to come back. If you get a second one, oftentimes they'll just keep coming back there and you'll get the whole lot. Okay, that's the first trap in here, just at this post assembly. I've just tried to take the brush a little bit to one side here and a little bit there. Trap sets in here. It needs a little bit of sun on that and needs a little bit of time for those ants to stop being concerned about it. But it was a bare patch before I started, and hopefully it'll go back to being like a bare patch now. So I'll just probably put something, a little bit of brush here, as instead of a stepping stick, but just get something from to step over. Hopefully they'll be looking to go through here anyway along this track. That's one of the good places for them to go through. And I've hidden in here to one side, I've hidden some of that calf poo in there. So it's something that they can come into and I think stand, put their nose in, have a look. Really good spot. I'll put a bit of stinger over here, just to one side, a little bit of a walk through here. The thought is, if we get something caught over here, the others will be coming around, sniffing around, circle around the ones that are caught, or one that's caught. And this is a good outlier trap. In reverse, if we caught one in here for a start, the chances are we'd probably pick a second one up over here. This is just very, because of the rain, as soon as I've touched the soil, it's changed the coloration. It's going to take a little bit of time for that to come back and to look the same. And the ants are very disturbed. That's going to take an hour or so as well. So I think it will settle down. It's just going to need some heat on top of it here now. And that's something that we'll have this morning for sure. Well, you can see where these dogs have come right along this road. Looks to be 2 there. But I think before I saw more tracks than 2, so I'm still thinking 3. I reckon this gully here, even though we've had a bit of cattle sign, I still think that it's probably worth a trap in there, like not so much a blind, but just a single outlier trap on a drag, edge of the bank, sort of place where the dogs would neck in and they'd come through, go through sort of on that wheel mark. Yeah, just something to attract them over there. Maybe, again, a little bit of scatter, a bit of bitch urine, hopefully something to stop the cattle from being as interested. I'm sort of hoping the cattle will stay away from here for a few days, but the dogs might start moving along these tracks a little bit more. I haven't seen a pig, haven't seen any pig sign at all, because I'd like to have something for a drag. and put some scent on this road. If I find something, I'll go back over the top of this track again later on. So at the moment I'm just looking around, looking at signs, seeing what I see. And so far, yeah, I reckon I've got 3 dogs minimum on this track. Okay, again, that one will take a little bit of time to dry out. The sand's still pretty wet, but I've just put a little bit of dominant dog urine off a big dog I got on another area, another program. So I've kept the urine off that dog, and yeah, I've just put it there on the left hand side of the trap set, and just onto a drag in the gully. So a very simple set, and hopefully a dog coming along this road will smell that, walk up on that bank, and we've got him. Right, there's good tracks coming along here. So much grass though. I think the dog's being a bit lazy. They'll be working on these tracks because it's the easy way through. So there's a bit of a stump here. What I reckon I'll do is I'll just put a trap right in the dust on the side of the track here, and just put a very light scent there, something to make them just pull up if they come around there. And I'll set the trap there in the loose soil, in the dust, very simple. And probably put something up on the edge of the grass, maybe urine there, just like a dog's come through and cocked their leg on that patch of grass. Very simple. Okay, I'm going to put a trap in here in this tight little gully. There's good tracks going back and forwards here from last night, and a scratch mark up here where one's been sort of scratched and sat down on it. It's so humid. I've got a towel with me. If I don't keep constantly wiping my face, I'm dripping sweat over everything. It is hot. It is so humid here at the moment. Nothing much we can do about it. So I'm just going to put this one straight on a drag. It's a lump of wood that was right here, so I'll just hook it on with a cable. It's not going to go far. If anything hooks in here, it's not going to go far. It's just going to be in this gully. Yeah, it's hard to keep human scent off things when it is this hot. I'll thread that through the grass, through the couch, so it pulls the cable down. I usually don't worry about cables here because there's so much plain wire on old fences everywhere that they're used to going through fences. Wire doesn't usually worry them. Your chains do seem to worry them more, I think, because it's a little bit unusual for them. Get this one in. We've got a long way to go today. There's good tracks all the way around. I'm just going to put this one straight in the sand here. Good soft digging anyway. Any air pockets out of it. Do it down in it. Put the top dirt back on it. Couldn't help myself. I've got the one trap in on the other side of the buggy. Came here and had a look where these dogs were going, and they're going round and up that little gut there. The tracks are all going through here. The tracks you see there. So I've put a trap in there. I've just put some fat from a beast that the landowner killed last night. We had some real fresh sort of fat that's going rancid. So I've just smeared a little bit of it on that rock, just enough to get them to walk around there and want to lick that rock. And there's the trap in there on the little, like a little flat spot where you think that they're going to stand if they're going to come onto that rock. It's got the trap there on that little flat spot. It's sort of like an ideal place for them to put a foot if they're sniffing at that rock. And I've just got it tied off with a little strop onto that second rock there. Let's see how that goes, eh? Right, just come down here to a junction of where the surveyed road that goes through the property hits this track, and I turn in here. Here's a big fresh dog track here from this morning. Cattle beast has walked along the road and his dog's come along here. Two actually. That's come back this way. That dog's gone there and that dog's gone here. And that's come back. Right, okay. We might put a trap just here off the side of the road. Could be the same dogs that I've been seeing the tracks off over here, because it's only probably a kilometre away from where I saw all the tracks for a start this morning. So it could be the same dogs, but whichever thing, it's all part of a team. Whichever trap gets them first. Here's another one. I've just put that with a wire strop back onto that tree, back onto the stump here, and we'll try and just recreate this. The ants are going crazy, look at them, they don't like this at all. I like to set the sides of my trap up first, get them all packed in, smoothed off with my fingers. Back of my hand. Side of my palm. Right, and you can dribble a little bit in amongst the workings. When you've got fine sand like this, it's just magnificent. I usually don't have this sort of stuff to set in. I just pack around the edges of the pan. Basically get all the air pockets out. Because I believe that if you leave air pockets around your trap, the steel will give off a smell, and it will be seeping out of the air that's around it. You're better off getting that well and truly away. Some light dusting over the top, and that would probably come back looking pretty well itself without too much more. So what I've got here now is I've got the second stage dirt. I'll just give that a bit of a dusting. The first thing I've got to do is try and wipe the sweat off my brow. Oh, they're just so hot, eh? It's just so hot. I'm trying to film, set traps, talk sense, hold the camera square. Sorry guys. And think like a dog at the same time. And there's the top layer, dusted back over it. I think that'll be okay. That'll dry down good. And all I've got to do is disguise that cable just a little bit. I might do that with a bit of stick that's over here conveniently. I might just put that in there. That gives me something to put the bait around. That gives me one side to stop a dog from going too far that way. I'll just use a little, very light stepping stick. Very light. Not too much at all. And I'll probably put something here to make the dog go in there rather than possibly step through here. So here we go. Ants can do their job again. Tidy everything up. Skunk, you're not your normal happy self, are you? Hey? We'll find some water up here, you can go for a swim. How's that? Hey? Yeah. It's still beautiful conditions, like I mean. I don't know how you guys over in Canada and America that trap in the snow. I don't know how you do it. It just must be so damn cold. You know, at least here we can sort of strip down a little bit and, you know, keep cool, move quickly and the breeze cools you down. Yeah, I don't know how you're doing it. You should come over here. Oh, Justin, when are you coming over here, Blake? Come over and trap with me. I'll come over and trap with you. How's that?